My name is Ava Monroe. There are moments in life that don't just hurt, you feel like they rewrite your whole childhood in 1 second. For me, that moment happened at Niagara Falls, in a place people visit to feel happy, to take photos, to smile for memories. But my memory of Niagara isn't water or rainbows. It's the moment I saw my father with a girl who was not my mother, and the moment my mother collapsed like her heart had been unplugged. We had planned the trip for months. My mom, Diane Monroe, kept saying, "I just want one peaceful weekend, just us, no stress." She had been tired lately, like she was carrying a weight she never talked about. Dad, Brian Monroe, told us he couldn't come because of work. He said it like he was doing us a favor, like he was sacrificing for the family. I believed him. My mom tried to believe him too. That morning, Niagara Falls was loud and alive. Tourists everywhere, people laughing. The air smelled like cold water and popcorn. I remember my mom adjusting her scarf, smiling a little, and saying, "Ava, take a picture of me near the railing." I raised my phone and framed her with the waterfall behind her. She looked beautiful, the kind of beautiful that comes from being kind, not from makeup. Then my mom's smile froze, not slowly, not gently, it snapped. Her eyes went past me, past the phone, past the water. I lowered my phone. "Mom, what are you looking at?" She didn't answer. Her face turned pale, like all her blood had disappeared at once. Her lips opened slightly, but no sound came out. She took one step forward, then another, like she was walking toward something she couldn't control. I turned in the direction of her stare, and my stomach dropped. There, near a gift shop at the edge of the crowd, was my father, Brian, my dad. He was not supposed to be there. He was wearing a jacket I recognized, the one he wore when he wanted to look professional. And beside him stood a young woman with long, dark hair, a bright smile, and a small Italian flag charm hanging from her purse. She leaned into him like she belonged there. He didn't pull away. He laughed, soft, comfortable, like he had done it 100 times. Then the girl touched his arm, and Brian placed his hand on her back like it was the most natural thing in the world. In that second, my brain tried to make excuses. Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's someone asking for directions. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but then my father kissed her cheek, not a quick, polite kiss. A close, slow kiss. The kind that says we have secrets. My mom made a sound like her breath got stuck. "Mom," I reached for her, but she wasn't there anymore. Her knees gave out and she dropped toward the ground. I grabbed her just in time, my arms shaking, my phone falling into my coat pocket. People around us gasped. Someone shouted, "Call an ambulance!" My mom's eyes rolled back for a second. Her head lolled against my shoulder. Her body felt heavy and lifeless, and I panicked so hard my hands couldn't even unlock my phone. "Mom, please, please wake up!" I cried, my voice breaking. Through the crowd, I saw my father's head snap up. He saw us. His face changed. Just for a second, fear, shock, guilt. Then he looked around like he wanted to disappear. The Italian girl turned too, confused, and then she said something to him, fast, angry. My father didn't run to my mother. He didn't push through the crowd. He didn't shout, "That's my wife." He did the worst thing possible. He turned away. He grabbed the girl's hand and walked quickly in the opposite direction, disappearing into the crowd like a coward. That image burned into me like fire. My mom unconscious in my arms and my dad walking away. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe, because what happened after this wasn't just betrayal, it was the beginning of a revenge that destroyed everything he thought he owned. The ambulance arrived in minutes, but it felt like hours. They lifted my mom onto a stretcher. Her eyes fluttered open briefly, and she whispered my name like she was trying to hold onto life. "Ava," she breathed. "I'm here," I said, crying. "I'm here, Mom." At the hospital, the doctors asked questions. Stress, blood pressure, heart issues, trauma. They used big words, but I understood the simple truth. My mom's heart had been shattered so suddenly that her body couldn't handle it. While she rested, I sat in the hallway holding my phone, shaking. I searched my camera roll. The picture I had taken of her seconds before, her smile, the falls behind her. That smile now felt like a ghost. Then I saw a message pop up on my phone from my father. "Where are you? Call me." My hands trembled with rage. He dared to ask where we were. He knew. He just wanted to control the story. I didn't reply. I waited until Mom woke up properly. When she opened her eyes, she looked around, confused. Then her expression changed as memory returned like a wave. She whispered, "He was there, wasn't he?" I swallowed hard. "Yes." Tears filled her eyes, but instead of crying loudly, she went silent. That silence was scarier than screaming. She stared at the wall for a long time, like she was looking at her whole marriage like a movie she no longer understood. "We're going home," she said finally. Her voice was weak but firm. When we returned home the next day, my father was already there, sitting on the couch like he belonged. He stood up when we walked in, acting worried, acting innocent, acting like the hero of a story he had already rewritten. "Diane, thank God you're okay," he said, stepping forward. My mom raised her hand. "Don't touch me," she said quietly. My father froze, then she looked at him straight into his eyes. Her voice didn't shake. Mine did. "I saw you," she said, "at Niagara with that girl." My father blinked fast, like he was surprised she had words. Then he did what liars always do first. He laughed. A small laugh, like she had made a silly joke. "What? Diane, what are you talking about?" he said. "You must be confused. You fainted. It wasn't me." My mom's jaw tightened. "It was you," she repeated. He shook his head. "No, I wasn't there. I told you I was working. You're imagining things." And in that moment, something inside my mother changed. Not into anger, into something colder, something smarter. She nodded slowly, like she accepted his words. "Okay," she said softly. "If that's what you want to say." My father relaxed, thinking he had won. He didn't realize he had just signed his own ending, because my mom wasn't just hurt, she was watching now. And once a woman like Diane starts watching, every lie becomes evidence. That night, after my father went to bed like nothing happened, my mom sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and a pen. She looked at me and said, "Ava, from today, we don't ask him questions." I wiped my tears. "Then what do we do?" She leaned closer, her eyes sharp with a new kind of strength. "We let him think he's safe," she whispered. "And then we take everything back." And that was the first night our revenge began. The days after Niagara felt unreal, like we were living inside a house built of glass. Everything looked normal from the outside, but inside, every step felt dangerous. My father went back to his routine as if nothing had happened. He woke up early, made coffee, read the news, kissed my mom on the cheek, and said, "Have a good day." He acted like a man who had nothing to hide. That made everything worse, because now we knew the truth, and he didn't know that we knew. My mom followed her own rule: no questions, no fights, no tears in front of him. She smiled at the right moments. She nodded when he spoke. She even laughed once at a joke he told, and I had to look away so he wouldn't see the fire in my eyes. At night, when his bedroom door closed, my mom became someone else. She would sit at the kitchen table with that same notebook, writing down times, names, excuses he used. Business dinner, late meeting, conference call. She wrote them all like a detective, not a wife. I watched her change. She didn't cry anymore. She observed. One evening, Dad said, "I'm meeting a client tonight. Might be late." Mom smiled. "Of course, be safe." He kissed her forehead and left. The moment the door closed, her smile disappeared. "Coat," she said to me. I grabbed mine without asking. We waited 5 minutes, then slipped out and followed his car. I had never done anything like this before. My hands shook as I held my phone, tracking his movement through the streets. My mom drove calmly, keeping a safe distance. Her eyes didn't leave the road. He didn't go to an office. He didn't go to a restaurant. He went downtown, to a place filled with neon lights and loud music. A club. We parked across the street, hidden between two vans. From the car, we could see the entrance. Music thumped through the walls. People laughed. Girls in bright dresses entered with men who looked proud to be seen with them. Mom's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. We waited 10 minutes, 20. Then he came out, not alone. A tall woman with pale hair stepped beside him. She wore a red dress that caught every light. She leaned close to him, whispering something into his ear. He smiled the same way he used to smile at my mom. She touched his chest. He didn't stop her. My mom's breath hitched once, just once. Then she whispered, "That's the second." I looked at her. "Second?" "The girl at Niagara was Italian," she said softly. "This one isn't." "Which means he's done this before?" The woman laughed, threw her head back, and pulled him toward her. He followed easily. I felt sick. We didn't follow them inside. We didn't need to. The truth had already walked out of the door. On the drive home, neither of us spoke. When we entered the house, it felt smaller, like the walls had heard everything. That night, my mom didn't write. She stared at the notebook for a long time, then closed it. "Ava," she said quietly, "your father doesn't just lie, he lives another life." My chest hurt. "So what do we do?" She looked at me with a calm that scared me more than tears. "We let him keep lying," she said. "We let him build his own trap." The next weeks became a performance. Dad grew careless. He thought he had erased Niagara with his denial. He believed Mom had accepted his story. He started staying out more. He took calls in the hallway. He protected his phone like it was a secret heart. Mom became invisible. She stopped asking where he was going. She stopped worrying aloud. She became the safest place for his lies. And lies grow bold when they feel safe. One afternoon, he forgot his phone on the kitchen counter. It vibrated. Mom didn't touch it. She looked at me. I unlocked it. The messages were there, names we didn't know, pictures, promises. He wasn't just cheating, he was collecting lives. My hands shook. Mom closed her eyes once, then she said, "Screenshot everything." That night he came home late. He smelled like a stranger. Mom smiled. "Good night," she said. He believed her, but now we had proof, names, dates, faces, and my mom finally said the words I had been waiting for. "He thinks I am weak." She looked at me, and for the first time since Niagara, she smiled. "He is wrong." If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe, because what comes next is not just revenge. It's the fall of a man who thought love made him untouchable. Because my mother wasn't planning a fight. She was planning an ending. The screenshots became our secret weapon. We saved everything in a hidden folder on my phone, then backed it up to a cloud account my father didn't know existed. Every message, every picture, every promise he made to women who thought they were special. Some of them called him love. Some called him future. One even wrote, "When will you leave your wife?" That message broke something inside me. My mom read it slowly once, then twice. Her hand didn't shake, her face didn't change. But her eyes hardened in a way I had never seen before. "He doesn't just cheat," she said quietly. "He builds dreams he never plans to keep." From that day on, my mother stopped being a victim. She became a strategist. She started asking gentle questions, not accusing, not emotional, just curious. "How was your meeting? Did you enjoy dinner? Who is that client you always mention?" Dad loved talking about himself. He answered easily, unaware that every word was being compared to the truth in our folder. Every lie made him predictable, and predictability is dangerous. One evening he said, "I'm going to Montreal this weekend." "Big opportunity?" Mom smiled. "That's wonderful, you deserve it." He didn't know we had already seen the hotel booking on his email. He didn't know the name Alina appeared in the same thread. That night, Mom turned to me and said, "Pack a bag." I froze. "Why?" "Because we're going to." We didn't follow him directly. We waited one day, then Mom told him we were visiting an aunt. He believed her without question. In Montreal, we stayed in a small hotel near the city center. Mom wore a scarf and glasses. She looked like someone else. Someone quiet. We watched from across the street as Dad entered a luxury hotel with a woman on his arm. Not Italian, not the club girl, a third. They laughed, they kissed, they walked in like a couple in love. My stomach twisted. Mom whispered, "Every lie has a price. Today we calculate it." We didn't confront him, we collected, we photographed. We recorded, we noted times. We watched him choose another life again and again. When we returned home, Dad was already there, acting tired, acting loyal. "How was your trip?" Mom asked sweetly. "Productive," he said. "I did it all for us?" I almost laughed. Instead, I watched my mother pour him tea like nothing had happened. That night, she wrote one line in her notebook, "He thinks I am blind." The next phase began quietly. Mom contacted a lawyer, not for divorce, but for information. She learned everything about shared accounts, property, investments, insurance. She didn't move anything yet, she just learned. She also joined a charity group Dad respected, a women's circle. They admired her kindness. They trusted her. She listened. Reputation is a fragile thing. Dad cared deeply about his image, business dinners, charity events. Family man stories, so Mom became visible. She attended events with him, smiled beside him, spoke warmly of marriage, and people believed her. That's when she began planting seeds, not lies, truth carefully timed. At a dinner, she said softly, "Brian travels so much, I hardly see him anymore." At a meeting, she laughed gently, "Sometimes I feel like I'm married to a stranger." People nodded, they remembered. And when truth finally arrived, it would feel familiar. Dad grew proud of her again. "You're glowing," he said one night. "Everyone loves you." Mom smiled. "They always have." He had no idea she was building a stage. Every king falls in front of an audience, and my mother was choosing his. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe because what happens next isn't loud, it's surgical. The trap was nearly ready, and my father was walking into it with confidence. Because men like him don't fear storms, they fear mirrors, and soon the world would show him exactly who he was. The invitation arrived in a white envelope with golden edges. It was for a charity gala, one of the biggest events of the year. Business leaders, investors, media, influencers, couples in perfect clothes smiling for cameras. My father loved these events. He loved walking in with my mother on his arm, loved hearing people say, "You're such a lucky man." He loved being seen as loyal, successful, untouchable. Mom held the card in her hand for a long time. "This is where it ends," she said. I felt my heart beat faster. "Ends how?" She looked at me, not with screaming, not with tears, with truth. For weeks she prepared. She met the lawyer again, quietly transferred copies of everything. Screenshots, hotel photos, messages, timestamps, locations. She arranged legal steps so that when the moment came, nothing could be undone. She also contacted 2 women. One was the Italian girl from Niagara, Isabella. The other was Alina, the woman from the club. Both had been lied to, both had been promised futures that never existed. Mom didn't accuse, she told them the truth. At first they didn't believe her, then she sent proof. Neither replied immediately, but 2 days later Isabella wrote back, "He told me you were sick, he said you didn't understand him." Alina followed, "He said he was divorced." Mom closed her eyes when she read those messages. "He didn't just betray me," she whispered. "He built a world of lies around himself." The night of the gala arrived. Mom wore a deep blue dress, simple, elegant, the kind of beauty that doesn't beg for attention. Dad stood in front of the mirror adjusting his tie. He looked proud. "You look stunning," he said. She smiled. "So do you?" He had no idea those would be the last kind words she ever gave him. The ballroom glowed with light. Music floated through the air. People turned when we entered. "Diane, Brian, such a perfect couple. You inspire us." Dad's chest lifted with pride. Mom held his arm calmly. Halfway through the evening, a man stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "before we continue, we have a special moment tonight. Mrs. Diane Monroe would like to share something." Dad turned toward Mom in surprise. "What is this?" She gently slipped her arm from his. "Just a few words," she said softly. She walked to the stage. The room fell quiet. "I have been married to Brian Monroe for 23 years, she began. "I believed in loyalty, I believed in family. I believed in truth." Dad's smile stiffened. "For a long time," she continued, "I thought marriage meant patience, silence, understanding." Screens behind her turned on. The first image appeared, Brian in Niagara with Isabella. His hand on her back, gasps filled the room. He froze. The second image appeared, Brian outside the club with Alina, her lips close to his ear, murmurs spread. The third screen showed messages. "I love you, I'll leave her soon. You're my future." Dad's face drained of color. Mom's voice remained steady. "I collapsed at Niagara Falls. I was taken to a hospital. While I lay on a bed, my husband walked away with another woman." She turned slightly toward him. "You denied it," she said calmly. "You called me confused." He tried to speak. Nothing came out. "This is not revenge," Mom said. "This is release." 2 women stood from the audience. Isabella, Alina, they walked forward. Isabella's voice shook. "He told me his wife was sick." Alina added, "He said he was divorced." The room felt like it stopped breathing. My father stumbled backward. "Diane, please," he whispered. She looked at him, and for the first time since Niagara, she let him see how small he had become. "You taught me something," she said. "Silence protects liars." Then she turned to the audience. "I am not here for sympathy, I am here for truth." She stepped down. The room exploded. Whispers, phones, eyes everywhere. Dad stood alone. No applause, no comfort, just mirrors. He lost everything that night. Reputation, respect, control. And when we walked out, Mom didn't cry. She held my hand. And for the first time, I felt what real strength looked like. The night after the gala felt unreal, like the world had tilted and never settled back into place. News traveled faster than truth ever had. By morning, Dad's phone was silent. No calls from partners, no good luck messages. No invitations, just notifications, screenshots, forwarded posts, whispers turned into headlines. Business leader exposed in public scandal. Charity gala turns into confession night. Wife reveals double life. The man who once woke up feeling powerful now stared at a phone that refused to ring. He sat at the kitchen table in his robe, eyes hollow, hands trembling around a mug of coffee he never drank. My mom moved through the house like a ghost, quiet, focused, unbreakable. Dad finally spoke. "Diane, please," he whispered. "You didn't have to do this." She stopped in the doorway. "I didn't do this," she replied. "You did every time you lied." He ran a hand through his hair. "You humiliated me." She looked at him with calm eyes. "No. I showed who you already were." He stood up suddenly. "You destroyed my life." She didn't flinch. "No," she said softly. "I returned it to you." The house felt different now, lighter, like a storm had passed and left clean air behind. But the outside world wasn't quiet. Within days, Dad was removed from boards he once ruled. His company partners requested meetings without him, clients canceled contracts. Friends avoided him, even family stopped calling. The man who once controlled rooms now couldn't control a conversation. He tried to fix it. He wrote apology letters, he made excuses, he claimed misunderstanding. No one listened because truth had already arrived. One evening, I found him sitting in the living room, staring at a framed photo of us from years ago, me in braces, Mom laughing beside him. "Ava," he said quietly, "do you hate me?" I paused. "I don't hate you," I replied. "I just don't trust you." He closed his eyes. "I never meant to hurt her." "But you did," I said over and over. He looked small. "I was lonely," he whispered. "You had a family," I said. "You chose strangers?" That night he packed a bag, not dramatically, not angrily, he simply left. Mom didn't stop him, she didn't beg, she didn't cry. She watched him walk out the same door he had used to return from lies. Only this time he wasn't coming back. Days turned into weeks. Our home became quiet in a peaceful way. Mom reclaimed rooms. She changed curtains, moved furniture, painted walls. She rebuilt our space, not out of anger. Out of ownership. One afternoon, she stood in the doorway of what had once been Dad's office. "This will be mine now," she said. I smiled. "You earned it." She laughed, a real laugh. The kind I hadn't heard in years. Dad tried once more. He sent a letter. It arrived in a plain envelope. Mom read it slowly, then she folded it and placed it in a drawer. "I forgive him," she said. I stared. "How can you?" She met my eyes. "Forgiveness isn't permission," she said. "It's freedom." She didn't respond, she didn't reopen the door, she simply closed the chapter. And in doing so, she taught me something no school ever could. Revenge isn't always loud. It isn't fire, it isn't destruction. Sometimes revenge is truth, and truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs light. Dad didn't lose everything because Mom was cruel. He lost everything because lies cannot survive daylight. And the woman he thought was weak. She became the author of his ending. The story wasn't over yet. But it had changed direction, because what comes after revenge isn't victory, it's rebirth. And in the final part, you'll see what happens when a woman chooses herself after a lifetime of silence. The house did not feel empty after my father left. It felt honest. For the first time in my life, every room reflected truth. No whispers behind doors, no late-night excuses, no phone calls taken in shadows. The walls no longer held secrets. They held air. My mother began waking early again, not from anxiety but from purpose. She started jogging in the mornings. She joined a writing class. She laughed on phone calls with friends who had once drifted away when Dad's world became too polished to include them. One afternoon, she stood in the kitchen, sunlight touching her face, and said, "I forgot who I was." I looked at her. "You found her again?" She smiled. "No, I rebuilt her." My father tried to exist in the background. He rented a small apartment across town. He lost the life he thought defined him. His name no longer opened doors. His presence no longer commanded attention. He learned what silence truly meant, not the silence of hiding, but the silence of being unseen. Once, months later, I saw him in a grocery store. He stood in an aisle holding a box of cereal, staring at nothing. He looked older, smaller, not broken, just human. He noticed me. For a moment, he seemed to want to speak. I nodded politely, then I walked past him. That was the final boundary. My mother no longer lived in reaction. She lived in creation. She built a consulting business helping women leave destructive marriages with dignity. She spoke at small conferences not about pain but about power. She never mentioned my father's name. She didn't need to. One evening we returned to Niagara Falls, not for closure, for ownership. We stood where she had collapsed months before, the water still thundered, tourists still laughed. Life had continued without apology. She held my hand. People think strength is loud, she said, but it's quiet. It's the decision to stop begging for honesty. I watched her face. She was not bitter, she was free. If you're listening right now, don't forget to subscribe because this story is not about betrayal, it's about transformation. My father didn't lose everything because my mother wanted revenge. He lost everything because he chose lies over love, and my mother didn't win because she destroyed him. She won because she chose herself. That is the kind of ending no liar can survive, and the kind of beginning every woman deserves.